Hi, welcome to question 6 of the Lebenscert Ordinary Level, Paper 1, 2025. So if you want a copy of these notes, just send me an email to shanetroy@gmail.com, like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. So this is starting off with a profit and loss question. So as always, try read the question, give it your best shot and see how well you do. First question here, part A, part 1. Tara buys a coat for €90. She then sells the coat at a profit of 25%. Find the selling price of the coat. So we got stuck in. So the selling price is given by the price in addition to the extra amount. Okay. So the profit is 25% of 90. Now that's just a matter of doing the calculation. You can multiply by 25% using the calculator or multiply by 0.25% because it's always worth remembering that 25% means 25 over 100, which in decimal is 0.25. Now I got an answer of 22.5, which makes sense. It's about a quarter of 90. When I add that to the original price, I get 112.5. Now, what some people might do there is they might multiply the 90, multiply it by 125%, which includes the 90 and the extra 25%. But there's neither right nor wrong. It's just a slightly different way of approaching it. Now, part 2 says the margin on the quote is the profit as a percentage of the selling price. Write down the profit for this quote and hence find the margin. Now, this is slightly more unconventional. So we get stuck in. So they're highlighting certain words. And the first thing I would do is I would come along and find out what the profit is. Even though we know it's 22.5. We can get profit by getting the selling price, take away the cost price. The selling price was 112.5. We found that in part 1. The cost price was 90. So the profit is 22.5. Now, if you didn't get anything else done on the question, that should get you the attempt just for showing knowledge of what profit is. Now, the margin is slightly different than the other formulas. The margin is given by the profit over the selling price, not the cost price. And to get a percentage, you multiply by 100. So even indicating multiplying by 100 would get you the attempt for showing your understanding of what a percentage is. Now, we already have all the numbers here. The profit is 22.5. The selling price is 112.5. Putting that through the calculator, I got a margin of 20%, which makes sense. It's a decent margin. Always run an answer through what I call the BS test. If it doesn't make sense or something feels wrong, just check your calculation. Maybe there's something wrong with your inputting to the calculator or whatever. Now, part B, we're moving into scientific notation, which can often give people trouble. Okay, so we'll read through it again, pause the video, have a go, see if you can interpret this terminology here, but I'll run us through it now in a second. The question says, write each of the following numbers in the form a times 10 to the power of n, where 1 is less than or equal to a is less than or equal to 10, and n is an element of z. Lots of terminology here. They want this in a certain format. It's called scientific notation, and it's a number multiplied by a power of 10. Every time you multiply by a power of 10, positive power of 10, you move the decimal place once to the left. If you're multiplying by 10 to the minus 1, you move the decimal place once to the right. Okay. Now they want the a value here to be between 1 and 10. Okay. Then the n is an element of z, just means that your power can be a positive or negative whole number. That's all. So the first one here is 58,000. Now, I don't have my pen thing on. The decimal place is here. Hopefully that's visible on the screen. Okay, this is not in the form of, a is not between 1 and 10. To get that, I need to move this place once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And then I end up with 5.8. Okay, that's the answer. 5.8 by 10 to the 4. I moved the decimal place 4 times to get that number in that format. Okay. Now, if you want to check it on the calculator, you're basically multiplying by 10,000. Okay. And even though the format is different, it's still the same number. In fact, the number here has never changed. Let me change to the laser pointer. This number here and this number here are the same number. Okay, as is this, and as is this. This answer is in the format they want, and they're trying to give you an opportunity to show that you can appreciate that. It is tricky for some, but once you get the hang of it and realize what this terminology means, it's the same every single time you do it. Now, what sometimes is more challenging is the 0.036. It's a little bit less obvious. We're going to move it here to the right once, twice, okay, and then we're going to end up with 3.6. Okay, so I do in the notes here, I'm doing a 0.36 by 10 to the minus 1 is the same thing as 0.036. 3.6 by 10 to the minus 2 is your answer. So straightforward enough when you know what you're doing. If you don't, this can bamboozle people, okay? And I fully appreciate that. Now, part C says light travels at a speed of approximately 3 by 10 to the 5 kilometers per second. A light year is the distance traveled by light in 1 year. Find the distance traveled by light in 1 year, and you may assume there are 365 days in a year, just trying to, in a way, counteract those who might question, is it a leap year or there's 366 days? The question then says, give your answer in kilometers in the form a by 10 to the n, where a is bigger than or equal to 1, but less than 10. And n is a positive or negative whole number. Okay, so the exact same format there. You'll see that in every question you ever look at in terms of scientific notation. Now, we know that 1 year is 365 days. 1 day has 24 hours. Okay, 1 hour has 60 minutes. 1 minute has 60 seconds. So just stating that just so it's clear. Sometimes people can just forget. And 1 year, I remember it happening that the question was how many weeks in a year was needed for the question. And a certain number of students, a quite a significant number of students, answered 48 weeks. They went 12 months by 4 weeks, 48. Now, we should hopefully know that there's 52 weeks in a year, but I fully appreciate how that mistake could happen, especially in the pressure of an exam. So to find out how many seconds in 1 year, I'm multiplying the 365 by 24 by 60 minutes by 60 seconds. Now that's a big number, okay? I think that's what, 31,536,000 seconds. So if they tell me that light travels 3 by 10 to the 5 kilometers in 1 second, okay, now that's the same thing as 300,000 seconds, so 300,000 kilometers per second, okay. Now I'm going to multiply that 3 by 10 to the 5 by the number of seconds, and that will tell me how many kilometers it travels in 1 year, which is a massive number. Every 3 is 1,000, a million, billion, trillion. So it's actually over 94 trillion kilometers per year, which is a phenomenal distance, which is why space is so cool, but also so hard to understand. The numbers just get so big so quick. Now, I'm going to change that. I'm going to move the decimal place that I'm pretending is here with the laser pointer. 1, 2, 3. So that's by 10 to the 3. 1, 2, 3. That's by 10 to the 6. 1, 2, 3. That's by 10 to the 9. 1, 2, 3. That's by 10 to the 12. And one more. So the decimal place now sits between the 9 and the 4. So it satisfies this criteria. I just have to count the number of times I've moved it, which was 13. So it's 9.46 with a bit extra by 10 to the 13 kilometers per year. And arguably, I don't actually need these zeros. They're not significant, but I put them in just to show that I've moved it. And that's the answer. Now, that's the end of question 6. As always, if you want to copy these notes, send me an email to shanetroy@gmail.com. Like and subscribe to get access to more playlists. Best of luck.